Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. About a month ago, I broke down sobbing in my bathroom early in the morning. Stick with me. See, the night before, my partner and I had just celebrated 17 years together in our relationship. And we had watched a movie the night before called The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Some of you may have watched it, and if you haven't, there are going to be some spoilers in here. It's an older movie. So in the film, the protagonist, Benjamin, is played by Brad Pitt, and he is born as an old man who ages in reverse. So he's getting younger with each passing year. So it's a story about time, love, age, and mostly the sadness of change. So Benjamin realizes that by the time his newborn daughter is in her teens, he's going to be a young man physically, but mentally, he's going to be in his 60s. So to avoid being a burden to the mother of his child, Daisy, who is played by Cate Blanchett, whom he met as a child, he leaves them his entire inheritance from his wealthy father, and he leaves with only the clothes on his back. Now, years later, Daisy, who is now remarried, receives a call from Child Protective Services about an unknown child with a journal in his possession with her name in it, and it is the only clue to his identity. And it's Benjamin, who is now struggling with dementia. So his body is young, but he still experiences the impact of aging neurologically. Remember, he's aging in reverse. So Daisy ends up moving into a retirement home to become a caregiver for Benjamin, who looks like a child, but basically has the brain of an old man. So she takes care of him as he lives out his last years. And it's a very sweet gesture, seeing this person that she spent her youth with, who has now become a child, and she herself is an old person. So there's a scene there where an elderly Daisy is walking with Benjamin, and he's a toddler with dementia, and she's encouraged him to walk. And as she encourages him to walk, she bends over and gives him a little kiss on the cheek, right? This little toddler. And it's a tender, innocent moment, a kiss on the cheek of a man who is all at once older than her, younger than her, and whom she is now a caretaker to, a caregiver to. And I don't know what it was about that scene, brother, but something inside me broke. You know, just the love, the care, the passage of time, the sacrifice, the loss, the vulnerability, the evolution of a relationship. All of that was encapsulated in that moment. And, the next morning, early in the morning, I wake up, I'm in my bathroom, and in a flash, I just felt all of it. I felt all of the actual emotions from the movie. So I just let the memory of the tenderness of that moment engulf me. I was just crying over my sink. Everything came out. Basically, the movie became a conduit to me processing some things that I'd been moving too fast to process. So things that came out were that the realization that 17 years went by in the blink of an eye with my partner. The transition of a relationship from its youth to what you could call its maturity. And you may relate to some of these things. The vast unknown of oblivion after death. The constant fear that one day I'm going to receive a call about one of my aging parents. A very desperate, irrational concern that I hope they don't die unhappy. And the guilt that I felt at the egotistic assumption that I'm going to outlive them. So I don't know if you can relate to some of these things, but These are just things I deal with, the human part of me as a rebooter. Another emotion that came up was the mortality of myself and my girl, like the fear of her dying, the vast loneliness that I could expect, the fear of my death and her grief. And I also felt the weight of the almost Promethean effort it takes to accomplish the mission that I'm on. And a repressed fear I have, the fear of this giving hope to men thing, this helping men free themselves from their compulsive behavior. At the end of my days, will I be able to truly say that it was worth it? And the preciousness of the time spent with those that we care about. I came to realize, like, man, the time we spend with our loved ones, brothers, is so precious. And finally, the survivor's guilt. That was another emotion that came up. It was sort of a weird survivor's guilt and a pain that I feel for people who are still stuck in a place that I used to be. And that was a place of despair, a place of hopelessness, a place of loss, just a place of just crushing loneliness. And in that moment, it was painful, it was beautiful in that way that only life can be. Yeah, it was sad, but it was beautiful. So I washed my face and, I continued with my morning routine. And years ago, if I experienced something like this, I'd call this an emotional grenade. Like in the morning, somebody just opened my bathroom door, was just like, here you go, and threw in a grenade. That would cause me to run for cover to pornography or sex. Like I would engage in this desperate attempt to like fuck my way to freedom from these fears. I didn't want to settle down with anyone out of fear of losing my drug, sex, porn, and orgasm. But the truth is that an intimate relationship doesn't reduce your fears. All it does is amplify them, and it forces you to work through them with a partner while you are living. This is a mutual and a consensual decision. You and your partner recognize that there is loss and suffering in life. You decide that together, this unpredictable journey is better. Your relationship then becomes a tool for your spiritual growth. Your companionship becomes a conscious experience in living. Most people get married, have kids, and buy the house because it's the next logical step. There's a surface, societal, biological, and emotional purpose, but there's no spiritual intent. And then you wonder why you're so deeply unsatisfied. So here's my lesson this year, 2026, from being in a relationship for 17 years. And as usual, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying. I'm just a guy on the internet sharing what has worked for him. Make sure, brother, that you are with the right person. The right person can bear loss and suffering with you as easily as they enjoy the benefits of a relationship. The right person must ride with you spiritually because beyond the basics of companionship, parenthood, sex, shared interests, and compatibility, life is so much more. And I see so many couples just crash on the rocks of life's less expected realities. The best way to navigate the length and breadth of life is with a firm base in the spiritual. Spirituality in one's relationship means making your relationship a fundamental, transformative journey where your core beliefs, your purpose, and your way of life evolve. And this happens through inner renewal, through new perspectives of the sacred, and letting go of old patterns you both had, and always choosing to embrace growth, which leads to deeper meaning and authenticity, even if the path involves discomfort and just randomly breaking down and crying at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. I know this might have been a little bit of a stream of consciousness post, but I didn't want to make it a 17 things I've learned in 17 years in my relationship. As I wrap this up, by the way, I have taken over coaching in the Dating Reboot program from Coach Andrew. And the focus of our Dating Reboot program now is the express purpose of entering a long-term, reboot-oriented relationship. So I'll be teaching my dating and relationship philosophy and system from this weekend, which is actually the past weekend, this January, all the way through March 2025. We are looking for another coach to take over from Coach Andrew, but I would love to work and support those of you who have a goal of being in a relationship in 2026. To this program, if you desire to work with me, ends this month, and that would be January 2026. There will be a link to schedule a call with one of our dating reboot strategists to find out if you are a fit for this program. Again, I do teach a rather contrarian approach to relationships, and it is not for everyone. So you'd want to find out a little bit about it. And if it's not your thing, it's all good. But if it is your thing, then they'll talk to you about how you can be a part of the program. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out of control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.